Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, a timely appearance by Tyre Gray. He's president of the Nevada Mining Association, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Reckless Washington spending is driving up prices for Nevadans. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto voted to allow hundreds of millions of dollars of COVID relief funds to be wasted on frivolous projects not in Nevada. More silly inflationary spending. Senator Cortez Masto voted to allow a college to hire a poet in Connecticut and funding for 18th century French operas in Washington, D.C.? Tell Senator Cortez Masto to start voting against wasteful spending to stop inflation.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. Entertainment here at the Carson Valley Inn is extraordinary.
Yeah, super proud of the TJ's Corral, our outdoor venue, about 1,500 seats. We've had first-class entertainment out there. We've had Merle Haggard, we've had Chris Young, we've had Lee Brice a couple times, we've had Pat Benatar, Joan Jett, who's in the Hall of Fame. We're real proud out there, and it's just a great time. Watch CarsonValleyInn.com and grab those tickets early. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always pleased to welcome back to the program Tyre Gray. He is the president of the Nevada Mining Association. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Sam. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you. Let's start out with what happened over the weekend. The Senate passed this giant bill, and what's extraordinary, if I might say so, for a Democratic bill, had a lot of what seems to me positive things for mining.
What an exciting time. Look, I think when we look at the last couple of years, the federal government has been in gridlock and trying to figure out what to do around the inflation, the economy, and we've had divergent views on that. What we've seen within the Inflation Recovery Act, unfortunately, was not a bipartisan bill coming out of the Senate. But we do see some provisions that will be helpful to Nevada. Nevada is poised to become the green energy hub of the United States and frankly, possibly of the world. And that requires some investment. And we see those investment dollars in the Inflation Recovery Act. We would like to see some other things in there as well, but we do believe that from a mining context kind of only, there are some positive things in there that will help to further Nevada's mining industry.
Okay, so what kind of investments are you going to see out of the act?
Yeah, so really around critical minerals. And one of the things that I always say about critical minerals, talking about lithium without acknowledging that there's a requirement for gold, silver, copper, silica in order to support the green technology that we need is kind of like talking about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich without acknowledging that you need bread for the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. When you look at, per se, we'll just say an EV, the structure of the EV hasn't really changed from a regular vehicle. The only difference is what powers it. And so you'll still need you'll still need copper, you'll still need silver, you'll still need gold, you'll still need all of those base minerals that go into making a vehicle. The only difference is that instead of it being powered by a carbon motor or a fuel motor, it'll be powered by a battery pack. So I think it's important that we still recognize that there's a need for those base minerals. And so when we talk about critical minerals, one of the things that we always talk about is that it can't just be lithium, it really has to be broader, and appreciate that in really all all minerals do have some level of critical nature to them.
Do you think that lithium has been this unbelievable saving grace for the mining industry to allow it to move into a whole different view in the public's eyes as well as the government's eyes?
I guess in one way, but I mean, really the truth is that yes, lithium is one of the minerals that we're going to need to extract in order to help the U.S. transition to away from carbon producing fuels and different things like that. So we appreciate that we are now becoming the first link in that supply chain, but we've always really been the first link in the global supply chain for energy, right? And so I think, again, lithium is getting a lot of attention, but it really is the idea that we need all of those minerals. And really what's allowed the mining industry, I think, to be able to pivot so well in the last couple of years is really the fact that we've ingratiated all of the new technology that is available in making sure that our extraction process is as environmentally friendly as possible. Right? There's an environmental impact to everything. There's an environmental impact from changing your grass from natural grass to synthetic grass, right? I mean, it becomes hotter, it creates more heat, right? There's an environmental impact to building a building. And so I think we all recognize that everything that we do on a daily basis has an environmental impact. The concept is, how do you lessen that environmental impact? And for us, it's been the ability to ingratiate technology. You've probably heard me say this a million times. People think of us as like a pickaxe and burrow industry. There are no pickaxes, and I can assure you there are no burrows on any of our mine sites. And so when you think about mining, it's very easy to think about it from that 1860s gold digger perspective, but the truth is we're really sophisticated operations these days, and a lot of scientists, and if you can think of any geologists, hydrologists, all those, we have them on our sites, and we're making a difference and making a positive difference.
When you took this job, which is what, 3 years ago now?
Yeah, almost, yeah, February 2020.
Did you think that this was going to become a national security industry, where the national security of the United States depended on us being able to develop these mining resources, more so here in the United States than relying on other countries?
Look, I think the United States has always had a position of wanting to figure out ways to be domestic, right? I think we once had a very vibrant manufacturing industry that was here within the United States. I think we offshored some of that, and then I think we've started to realize that we really should be in control of our own destiny, right? And within the mining industry, when I took this job, I think when I was looking, I recognized that there was probably going to be a movement to start to secure our domestic mining industry. The truth is, it is a national security issue, right? We are relying on, it is almost crazy to think that a mineral can be mined here in Nevada and have to be shipped to China to be processed to then be brought back here to the United States. That just doesn't make much sense. And when you talk about environmental context, I mean, people don't really think a lot of times that you have to transport that raw material from Nevada all the way to China and then eventually back to the United States. And so what's the environmental impact of that? And so being able to secure our domestic supply, being able to secure our domestic ability to process particular minerals, I think is important. And I mean, I can't say I completely read the tea leaves, but I did have an inkling that it would be something that we'd be looking at.
Do you have conversations when you go to D.C. With some of the defense agencies? Because I know with, sorry to go back to lithium again, but in talking to some of the lithium producers or potential lithium producers here in the state, they're talking to the Department of Defense, they're talking to others. Are you having similar conversations?
Yeah, we're, so at the Nevada level, I always say, my job is to make sure that the four corners of Nevada have an understanding of what mining looks like today, what modern mining looks like. We do have a national component in the National Mining Association, and I work really closely with them. In fact, this weekend, we were on the phone pretty much nonstop, I mean, as there are particular details and amendments kind of flowing through on the Inflation Recovery Act. And I have to give, a lot of kudos to our federal legislators. Our federal delegation is solid. There's rarely a bill that comes through that has some level of context or application to mining where I don't hear from their offices. So, I mean, it's nice to make sure that we're in the loop, but we do also have those conversations with those administrative cabinets as well, because they're interested to know kind of what we're doing here in Nevada and how we will continue to be part of, I mean, what this green revolution is.
It's interesting because, you know, we've gone through this big circle now of where we've gone through globalization, lower costs on everything because you were initially building it in China, then to other countries in Asia because the costs were even lower than they were in China as China grew. But then realizing that there was a vulnerability, not just with China, but Venezuela and other countries and other commodities. Where do you think this is going to go over the next 5 to 10 years? Do you think the United States is going to become more insular?
No, that's a great question. I think...
Hey, that's what I try to do.
There you go, right? I think as the average person starts to appreciate the vulnerability that occurs in their household on a daily basis, I think you'll start to see the average person.
For example?
So, I mean, for example, the fact that really probably even this shirt, right, it was made elsewhere, right? I mean, so the concept that almost everything that we touch on a daily basis, whether it's your alarm clock, your car, your garage door opener, that almost all of those parts are coming from another country, and so we rely really heavily on other countries in order to make American life possible. So I think as the average person really starts to appreciate that, there'll be a call to, why aren't we doing this here? Because of recognizing that there are, global issues going on, whether or not we look at the unfortunate issues that are going on between, Russia and Ukraine, or we look at the escalation in between kind of China and Taiwan, or things that are going on in Latin America. I think there's a recognition that has to be made that if we can do more of this at home, we kind of do protect ourselves from what's going on around the world.
Interesting article over the weekend in the New York Times about the inflation rate in Argentina. And when you start to read about what real inflation issues are, where something can go, that you can't even deal in the currency of the country because it's exploding so quickly, you can't put price tags on things in a grocery store because you can't change them fast enough. You realize that the inflation we're dealing with here is moderate. On the other hand, the reason that all of those things were going to other countries to be manufactured was because they were so much lower cost. So do you think the American people are ready to pay higher prices for things to be, in quotes, made in America?
Again, yeah, I would hope so. And that is the cost, right? Is for a long time we wanted to be able to offshore in order to reduce costs. But I think when we look at issues around employment, right now we have a really hot employment market. We have the opportunity to even continue to employ more people. And we do have rising wages and different things that are, hopefully those wages will start to rise, I should say. But we have rising cost in a lot of areas as well. And so I think people are hesitant to jump both feet in, but sometimes when you have a little bit of instability is usually when you want to jump both feet in, because hopefully then you can create some stabilization. And with inflation, again, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes, right? Where you see the cost of goods go up, and so then the demand for higher wages goes up, and then the demand on corporations goes up, and then those high prices are passed right back on to the consumer, and then you just kind of have that very circular type of deal where we kind of self-fulfill. So it is an issue, and I'm glad that I don't have to be the one to unilaterally solve it.
Okay. And on that point, let's take a break. We'll come back after this timeout with Tyre Gray, president of the Nevada Mining Association.
Reckless Washington spending is driving up prices for Nevadans. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto voted to allow hundreds of millions of dollars of COVID relief funds to be wasted on frivolous projects not in Nevada. More silly inflationary spending. Senator Cortez Masto voted to allow a college to hire a poet in Connecticut, and funding for 18th century French operas in Washington, D.C.? Tell Senator Cortez Masto to start voting against wasteful spending to stop inflation.
A business like mine has small margins. This is a working fleet, 5 trucks, all over 100,000 miles. Every time we fill up, we're dumping profits into the tank. That's what burns me up about Adam Laxalt. Big Oil has spent millions in support of his campaigns, and Laxalt spent years at a law firm that represents Big Oil. He pocketed millions working there. Some of us have real jobs and need someone getting serious about gas prices. Big Oil has enough senators. They don't need more help from Adam Laxalt.
LCV Victory Fund is responsible for the content of this effort.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org. Hi, I'm Renee Summerhour, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal Gas Station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Tyre Gray. He is president of the Nevada Mining Association. The price of gold, it has not gone up despite this inflation significantly. Does that surprise you? What does that say to you?
So it doesn't really surprise me. I think what it says is what we've always said. Minerals are volatile. The net proceeds tax, for example, has been the most volatile tax in our state for 20 years. And the reason for that is because the price of gold, the price of minerals is constantly fluctuating. And you have to appreciate that, right? And so for us, again, we are counter-cyclical, so usually when we see the economy kind of go down, we do see the price of minerals go up. But interesting enough, at the moment, the economy is not actually going down. The economy would arguably be considered relatively hot because of, unfortunately, supply and demand, right? We have limited supply, huge demand, and we've had people who have, large savings that have been built up, and the desire to spend money when they weren't able to spend money over the last, year and a half. We've had, $6 trillion or something like that pumped into the economy based upon some of the recovery acts that we saw during the pandemic. So there's a lot of economic movement going on, which is, again, when we don't have that, we usually see the price of gold go up. So right now, to see it kind of bouncing back and forth in between that, where we're seeing it, that 1,700 number is not necessarily surprising to us.
It's interesting to look at all of this, and I'm no economist, I'm just somebody who's lived for a while, and to see various forms of inflation and, work situations like we have now. The economy is booming. The Fed wants to slow it down to 2% from 9%? And yet you saw the jobs results last month. Is the mining industry looking for more people to come to work? I would think that between Elko and Winnemucca, as well as Central Nevada, that you need a lot of employees. If not today, you do need over the next year or so.
Yeah, look, we're going to just take that clip right there, and that's going to be our new clip for getting people to come out and work. So, no, we've always been an industry that is consistently underemployed. Usually, we're about 500 to 700 jobs below where we should be. Today, we're closer to about 1,200 to 1,500. And so our ability to attract young talent, our ability to encourage people to consider the mining industry is something that we've been working really closely on. Workforce development is one of the pillars that drives the association. And what I had is, I have what I call my 2D plan. And the 2D plan is we need to be able to, number one, demystify the industry, number two, diversify the industry. And today, these conversations that I'm able to have with you, conversations that I have out within the community, that's what allows me to be able to demystify, to get away from the old school kind of pickaxe, burrow focused, not environmentally focused mining industry to what we are today in a modern mining industry.
It's a computer industry.
It truly is. And then on the diversify aspect is really being able to diversify our workforce, our supply chains, not just regionally. So again, I think there's opportunities for us to have growth, more growth here in Washoe County, Reno, more growth in Clark County, Las Vegas, Henderson, North Las Vegas. In fact, we have some programs that are really focused down in Vegas. In fact, it's called Mining Vegas for Talent. And the concept is to go into lower socioeconomic areas where people are either underemployed or unemployed and say, hey, look, there's an opportunity for you to work in an industry that's going to be around for a number of years, that pays its employees really, really well, best wages in the state, average of $95,000 a year, already employs about 42,000 people throughout the mining supply chain. Paid for health care. It does everything.
So what kind of response do you get? Because I've gone and spoken in schools in the areas that you're going to. Do the kids look at you like you're crazy, or do they look at you and understand the concepts that you're offering them?
Both. No, I think, again, when the prospect of leaving Las Vegas to go work maybe in Elko or to go work in Winnemucca, for most people, you go, do I really want to go live in a rural community? One of the great things about the mining industry, and one of the things we found out during the pandemic, is about 10% of our workforce does not even live in Nevada. There are people who come, they work for 5 days, and they go home for 5 days, and they come back and they commute. And so those are one of the options that we kind of lay out for people. It's like, hey, if you don't think living in Elko may be for you, if you don't think living in Ely may be for you, there's an opportunity because of flexibility of our work schedules in order to be able to commute back and forth. But there is a little bit of shock, right? When you say to somebody like, hey, out of high school, I can get you into a job that's going to pay you $70,000 a year when you're in an environment where you don't know anybody who's ever made $50,000. Right. So those are promises that some people cannot really conceptualize, because what does it look like? And again, I grew up, I always tell people I grew up in a part of San Diego that you don't see on the postcards. It was unfathomable that I could be where I am today because I didn't know anybody who had ever gone to college. I didn't know anybody who had gone to law school, graduated. I didn't know anybody who made really above minimum wage when I was a kid, because that was the environment that I grew up in. And so exposure is important, because once I was exposed to that, through junior achievement, shout out to junior achievement. Daniel Eaton, when I was in 7th grade, was the first lawyer I ever met. He was an African-American male, and he was about 6'6", and I was like, oh my gosh, like, look at what I could be. And so I think for us, it's that repeated level of exposure, of showing people what they can be and showing people that there are opportunities that exist outside of their community that you just have to take hold of.
More with Tyre Gray after this timeout.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Enjoy exceptional value and a comfortable atmosphere at the all-new Nevada Steak at Tamarack Casino. Great food, fine wines, and delectable desserts.
Ooh, your good times at Tamarack.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Tyre Gray. He is president of the Nevada Mining Association. Environmentalists, it's an interesting situation where we find ourselves, where it seems like no matter what mining companies try to do to help with the environment, that there are certain people in the state that are just going to battle everything. Do they not want humans to be in the realm? I mean, they're not going to get them out of Las Vegas and Reno or the other cities, but out in the environment, is there not room enough for mining as well as environmental protections?
So mining really occupies 0.3% of Nevada's land. That number encapsulates not only the mine, but all the areas outside of the mine as well. And so when you look at mining's footprint, it is relatively small, in fact, very small, for the economic production that we're able to get. And so, I mean, the way that we've always seen it is environmentalists in mining, we're the same coin, just different sides, right? We all want the same thing. There's no benefit to our employees who have to drink the water in Elko to pollute that water. There's no benefit to our employees who have to breathe the air in Winnemucca to contaminate that air for them and their children. And so I think, again, the position of always viewing an industry in the 1800s and not as, the technologically savvy and environmentally conscious industry that it is today is a great failing of some. And I hope through just continued exposure and education, we can start to change some of those narratives.
That's where we have to leave it. Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Please come back soon.
Will do. Thank you.
And we'll be right back. I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. One of the things I love about the Carson Valley Inn here in beautiful downtown Minden is CV steak. I have eaten here so many times. Tell folks what they can expect when they come here to eat.
It's a beautiful room, great service. We have certified Angus beef, seafood, lamb, a great range of appetizers, and wonderful desserts. Jean-Michel's done a great job of selecting some beautiful wines for us. The customers love it, and we've got a great selection of cocktails as well. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
The Newsmakers studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at nevadanewsmakers.com. You can also check our archive going back to 2005 on our website. Again, nevadanewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.